Hey, how you doing? It's Rob Nolan here, author of the best-selling Gypsy Jazz Songbook series and creator of Gypsy Jazz Fast Track and Transfusion. These courses and books have literally taught thousands of guys all around the world how to have fun playing Gypsy Jazz. And in this series of videos, I'm going to be answering your questions and helping you out. So this question comes from Lance in Long Beach, California, and he's asking, well, he basically is saying he's coming from Bluegrass, which is awesome. And he's saying that, you know, obviously the chord changes in Bluegrass are quite easy to remember, and he has no problem with that. But with Gypsy Jazz, he's finding it, he's asking me, how can he kind of remember all these changes and all these, all these complicated chords that go on in all these songs. So great question. And obviously the first answer is, and I think it's good because he also says, how can you do it not to rely on the chart? And that's the first point, is that, in my experience, when I've been rehearsing with bands and guys I've never met and we're going through stuff, the best way to do it is actually without a chart. So it's me actually, showing you the chords, teaching the guys like that. And when you learn like that, you're retaining the information a lot better than, because once you've got a chart, and in my experience as well, I've done some projects where I've been given charts, and then from the very start, I've always relied on that chart. So somehow I find it hard to wean off it. So definitely make the effort to just memorize these songs. So even if it's like All of Me, and then you just do chunk by chunk. So All of Me is the first chord, C to E7. There's a lot of chords in it, but just do it bit by bit. So definitely try to memorize them. The other point with learning chords and memorizing progressions in this music is that there are very common progressions which happen all the time. And let me just show you a couple. Perhaps the most common would be something like a 2-5-1, and you might have heard this in jazz. And if we're in the key of C, like in All of Me, let's see, 2-5-1 means the 2 chord D minor 7, the 5 chord G7, and 1, the home key chord of C. So that's a 2-5-1. So once you know that progression, and you know it in lots of keys, in G, A minor 7, D7, G, then you can quickly recognize that in new songs that you're learning. So say you're going to learn Lady Be Good, and you kind of looking at the chart and you're thinking, oh, A minor 7, D7, G. You automatically recognize that as a 2-5-1. You don't see A minor 7, D7, G. You see it as an entity, which really helps you in retaining that and learning it. And eventually you see every progression in all these songs as something. You can label it as a 1-6-2-5-1, a rhythm changes bridge, a 2-5-1, a minor 2-5-1. And it's just a matter of recognizing these things. So like I say, 2-5-1 is going to happen in almost every tune in Gypsy Jazz. So if you're not hip to all this stuff, then maybe start there, So 2-5-1 in C is D minor 7, G7, C. A 2-5-1 in G is A minor 7, D7, G. So, it's a matter of recognizing these progressions. And then there's stuff like turnarounds. This progression in Gypsy Jazz is very common. So say you're in G and you're coming back home, it'd be something like, so that's the G over B, that's the B in the bass, B flat diminished, A minor 7, D7 back into G. And this kind of progression you're going to see all the time in this music. And so once you know that, then you fit in pieces to this puzzle, and then you can say you're in C and you're coming back down. Oh, there it is again. So you finish the piece with that turnaround, let's say. So I could go on forever, demonstrating all these things, but the thing is just to start somewhere and see where you're at. If you know 2-5-1, then look for that in every piece. And that means that when you come to a new piece and you want to learn it quicker, retain the chords, like Lance is saying, without relying on the chart, then this is really going to help you out. So a couple of points there, just to recap. Definitely a good idea not to rely on the chart. Do your best to always just test yourself and absorb those changes, because then you're never going to forget them. If you rely on the chart, you're always going to need the chart. And a chart on stage or in a session doesn't look that cool. So learn the changes. Then to make it quicker for each song, you're going to learn, recognize the common progressions, like the 2-5-1, like that turnaround. So there you go, Lance. I hope that helps, and Keep the questions coming.